Okay, there we go. Technology is always fun. Um, Time change differences is always fun, especially because you're in Arizona.
Yeah, we don't change the clocks.
No, you don't. It kind of screws up everything for everyone trying to get coordinated for stuff like this.
Yeah, because it didn't even dawn on me about the time change. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, no, it's like 5 minutes or a minute to start. I'm like, boy, Kate's not here yet. I was like, oh, yeah, that would be why Kate's not here yet.
In the meantime, I think I have an hour and I'm feeding my dogs.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, a couple of things, but mostly family communications. And the reason I think this is a really important topic because we're coming into an era in which we may not have much help afterwards.
Hmm.
Okay? So the better prepared you are and to like minimize things as best you can, it's going to help if there isn't much help afterwards, right? So family communications are going to be really, really important. Okay. Now you take my scenario. My kids are all across the country. It is extremely unlikely that in three parts of the country at the same time, we're going to have a problem. Okay. So therefore, it becomes just me and my husband. Okay. And it's all well and good if I know what to do. All right. But everybody else in the household needs to know what to do. What if I'm not home? Kate, what if I'm in, I don't know, Georgia for a conference and an earthquake happens here? I'm not here, the person who knows what to do,
Right.
right? So it becomes important that everybody in the household has at least an idea of what to do,
Well,
right?
and how to try and contact you. I think we're in a day and age like I could tell you right now, I have no idea what my brother's phone number is because I've never had to actually dial it. It's always just programmed in the phone.
Yes.
Whereas I was, when I was a kid, we didn't have that. So I could still tell you to this day what my childhood phone number was.
476-5993.
How did we just age ourselves without aging ourselves? But
Well,
uh,
I'm going to age myself even further. Greenleaf 6-5993.
so it's even just, do you even know your family's phone number to even try and communicate, let alone if the phones had gone out and we don't have wireless connection anymore? How do we get in touch with each other?
Well, fortunately, when for my husband and myself, okay, the two people in this household, our phone numbers are one digit off.
Hmm.
So when we got the phone numbers, we did two consecutive numbers so that it would make it easier to remember each other's phone numbers. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you what the phone number to my kids are.
Right. And I think that's more common these days than to actually know what the phone number is.
Yeah, because it's programmed in my phone.
Yeah.
So maybe something I need to add is some sort of laminated in case of emergency sheet that has all of the kids' phone numbers, out of area contacts.
Right.
Okay, because then you go a little bit further, right? So you'll have my kids who are in three different parts of the country. Then I have grandkids.
Hmm.
Okay, and so that chain just keeps getting bigger and bigger on who do you contact. And let's say my daughter who's in Indiana, so her son no longer lives with her. He's a grown adult. Okay. So now that's two people to get in contact in another state. And off the top of my head, I don't know either one of those phone numbers. They're in
Right.
my phone. Okay.
Yeah, do you have them written down anywhere?
No,
Yeah.
I have written down all the important login information for computers, banking, secure, all of that. I have all of that. What I don't have is a list of phone numbers for family members that it's written down on a piece of paper.
Yeah. And I would have to say, I mean, I'm not 100% on that either. You know, I don't have my brother's phone number written down. I don't have my aunt's phone number written down. I know my dad's, I know off the top of my head. Why, I don't know, but I do. And so I think that's important to also put in your emergency preparedness bag is their phone numbers and how to get in touch with your family.
See, now I'm going to have to add something to my to-do list. Thank you very much, Kate.
You're welcome.
And here's the thing. I have a laminator phone list.
Very nice.
You know, when my laminator broke.
Oh, it did?
No.
You use it too much?
It used too much. But the first thing I did is it broke, and I Amazon primed over the next day another laminator. It's just one of probably the most useful things you can have. I laminate everything. I have a list at Mason Bees, a timeline for it, and that's laminated. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah. All right. So my laminator is one of those well worth it investments, and they're cheap. I think both cases, I don't think I spent more than $30 on a laminator.
And that's not bad.
That's not bad at all. So that's on my list now. Now I'm going to pre-print out and laminate a sheet of phone numbers, and I'm going to put it in the to-go stuff. All right. So sort of like back to family, right? Like I said, I know what to do. I know what's important. And I try to, but it's also important for my husband to know. So if I'm not home, if all he does is get the dogs out of the house, he's ahead of the game. Okay. But there is a shelf right by the garage door, and all the important stuff is there. All of the little containers that he just has to put in the vehicle. Right? It doesn't have to think about it. And that, I think, is really kind of important because there's no thinking on his part. Put the stuff in the car, okay? If it's a tsunami, go up higher, okay? You get the tsunami warning. If there's an earthquake, I'm going to tell you, listen to the news, okay? And see where they're telling you to go, right? It's not going to hurt to head up higher in elevation after an earthquake is done with.
Right. And then for me, my family is in the same town. Not all of it, but most of my family is in the same town. And we get the wildfires out here. So last season, I told them we need to sit down and figure out what our family plan is going to be if we need to evacuate. Because if we need to evacuate, you know, I don't have time to like go pick them up and then go to our evacuation spot. Like we need to have a plan in place. Where are we going to meet? Because if we don't have cell phone communication, then let's come up with a meeting spot. Or one of the other things that we ended up doing was buying walkie-talkies. So we do have a way to communicate even if we don't have cell phone signal.
Okay. Walkie-talkies used to be more of a thing than they are now. All right. Yeah. So I had, when I first started mobile grooming, all right, we had what was called Nextels. And they were basically,
remember those?
Those
were instant walkie-talkies.
I have not seen that in a really long time.
No, those were awesome.
they were the best. All right, so I'm coming up to a light and it's gonna change, right? And I'm thinking, if I gun it, I'll make it. Okay. And as I'm thinking this, all of a sudden my Nextel comes on. You're not gonna go through that red light, are you? Yeah, a couple cars back was a friend of mine on her Nextel. And the thing, I hit the brakes because there was a cop sitting on the other side.
You know, what's so funny is the Nextel, the phone itself the reception was awful if you had to use the phone, but the walkie-talkie portion, like you can hear that crystal clear.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
In the middle of nowhere in the mountains, grooming who I refer to as the mountain lion, just a very vocal cat. And every time I groomed that cat, I would next tell all my friends whenever she would like roar, she would roar like a mountain lion. And I would just next tell my friends every time she did that. It was great. I am so sorry that is not a thing anymore.
I am too. I wish, and then at one point in time, there was an app, and I don't know if there's an app nowadays, but there was one point in time, there was an app that you can download that acted like a Nextel.
Really?
Where you would just hit the button and then it would key up and you would have to hold for a second and then you were able to communicate like a Nextel.
Is that still available?
I haven't downloaded it in a while, so I'm not sure.
All right, I'm going to go look into that. Thank you for listening, Christina. We do appreciate it. So, yeah, that said, it's like one of those things that, technology gets better, but sometimes they had the right thing.
Yeah.
They came back with Nextel. I would sign up for service the very next day.
I would too, actually.
And something, all right. So you mentioned you have walkie-talkies.
Uh-huh.
All right. So tell me about those.
You know what? They're in the emergency kit. So that's something that we ordered a while ago. I don't even remember what brand that we ordered. We just needed something that we knew if we were within a certain amount of distance of each other that we would be able to connect. So we actually tested it out at that point in time where we went to one residence and went to another residence to see if we would still be able to communicate. They didn't communicate as far distance wise that we wanted it to, but it was better than nothing. So we wanted to have something on hand. I do know nowadays with technology, I think there's, what is it? Doesn't Starlink have something to be able to communicate with?
But I think your phone still needs to be powered up and charged up. So anyway, I'm over here on Amazon right now, and I'm looking at walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
And they range in price. I could see it Amazon Prime Spring Deal for $60, and it has a 4-pack. Okay. There's a 2-pack. It's $120. Not sure what the brands are. So they're ranging anywhere from the cheap end. I'm seeing $40 for a 4-pack. I'm seeing it as high as the most expensive one that's just popping up is $120 for 2. And I think this would be a little bit of research as far as brands are concerned.
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't really dig into the research all that much, but we did get more of the higher end ones, but it was still not, we still thought that we were going to get more distance with it than what we did. Although the area that we're in, we don't always get great reception anyway. But is it something that we would be able to utilize and connect with each other at some point? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good to know. I'm probably going to spend a little time doing a little investigation into walkie-talkies. Again, Nextel will be better because that was nationwide. So if I had a Nextel and my daughter in New Hampshire had a Nextel, we could communicate. So I think we need to petition that. Kate, what do you say?
I think we should, because I agree. I would have a Nextel again.
Yeah. Right, let's take a quick commercial break. Hold on.
Are you tired of putting off your emergency and disaster planning manual? Look no further. This 67-page fillable template will make the process a breeze. Simply fill in the blanks for your business and gain access to checklists for supplies, common hazards, debriefing, evacuation and shelter-in-place protocols, resources, recovery, maintenance, as well as best intake practices. It's time to take action and be prepared. Get your copy today at positiveed.com/books.
And I do want to say the book will be available eventually on PetEdge. However, the wheels turn really slow to get new products. All I can say is that the wheel is turning, but it is turning really slow. So eventually the manual will be there. Okay. All right. And just on that note, too, if anyone who's going to be at the Tacoma, the Northwest Groom Show at the end of April, I am doing a 4-hour class there. Okay.
Very cool.
Very cool. So, okay. So communications, again, very, very important. Now, there's also having members of the family sort of knowing what to do. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We could tell you what to do, but sometimes taking a program is better. And there's a lot of free options for you, by the way. Okay. The best, it's going to be a time commitment. Find out about CERT training, CERT, Community Emergency Response Team training. It's like 20 hours. It currently is free thanks to taxes. Well, we'll see how that one goes along. It's a class I would pay for. I absolutely would pay for that class. Okay. Then there's human first aid. And I was thinking about it. One of my neighbors is sort of like a retired doctor, and he bought a used defibrillator.
Mm-hmm. I have one.
I don't.
Yeah.
New are extraordinarily expensive.
Well, I was able to get one from a used one from a paramedic, but yeah, the external automated defibrillator.
Yep.
I definitely have one of those on hand. What stinks about that is we get the defibrillators, which are expensive, but then the other aspect of it that we don't think about until it starts beeping and you need to replace it is the battery. And the battery on mine, and because mine's an older one, it's like $180 just for the battery. So just keep that in mind too, if you're going to budget in for it.
Okay. Or somebody in your close circle, right? So like I said, he's not precisely a neighbor, but he's within 10 minutes of my house.
Mm-hmm.
And he has graciously offered anyone who needs to use it could just go to his house and grab it.
That's very nice.
It's in a room that is never locked. He says you can come at 2:00 in the morning. This is where it is. Come get it. If we're not home, come get it. It's there.
Now, for those of you that haven't actually utilized one of those, even if you've never been trained on it, definitely if there's one available, go for it. So on the human side of things, when it comes to CPR, without a AED, it's about 13% chance of bringing somebody back just utilizing CPR. You double that if you actually add the AED. So the AED, you turn it on and everything is self-explanatory. The pads have pictures on where you're going to place it, and the machine tells you exactly what you need to do. So yeah, I would definitely recommend going out and getting trained on human CPR first aid. But if you don't and you see the defibrillator, go for it, turn it on, and it is going to explain exactly what you need to do. So don't be afraid to use it.
Okay. So other free training, FEMA.gov, ready.gov are two awesome websites with a load of information.
And they have a ton of free online classes that you can take too.
So there's a lot of free stuff to do. And even if, all right, so in my household here, I'm the designated person who gets education. I then need to explain it to my husband because he's not going to watch through it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is fine as long as somebody does it. But then, actually take the time to say, listen, this is what you need to do. So if I'm not here, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't call me in a panic. You should be ready to do this. So then there's, of course, pet CPR and first aid.
Mm-hmm.
I know Kate has an online program, which I actually have not taken. So I'm really looking forward to doing that at some point. And I'll always recommend an in-person class as long as they are doing hands-on.
So the online class that I have actually does include hands-on with the instructor. So you take all the lecture online and then you make your appointment with the instructor to go over your hands-on portion. It is via Zoom if needed to, or you can go on site and do it. But there's definitely a hands-on before you get your certification.
Yeah. So the hands-on is really, really important. Okay. And then there's Kate and I's emergency disaster planning program. That's not free. I'm sorry. We put a lot of work into that. And you can find that on positiveed.com.
But they get the podcast with free information. So we do give free information out.
But not the actual program.
Right.
The online program also includes a downloadable emergency disaster template. Okay. So somebody, like I said, at least one person in the family needs to know what to do, and then they need to make sure everyone in the household knows what to do. And I think that sometimes, like emergency disasters that you watch on TV, because we just saw the earthquake in Thailand.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah, but for people like my husband, he needs to see that. He needs to see that. He needs to understand that, oh crap, this could happen. And then he's more likely to listen to what I have to say.
Well, and I think too, when it comes to family communication and putting a plan together, it would be a really good idea if everybody involved were to at least go through a scenario at least once.
Yeah.
Because then even if you do it just that one time, you're still creating some muscle memory. Yeah. And so when that emergency happens, they're going to get up and they're going to start doing it. And they might not remember every single step, but at least it's going to be that initial reaction and they're going to know what to do and what to go for.
Yeah.
And have some sort of idea instead of going into freeze mode and not knowing what to do at all.
Yes, I think that's really important. So spend a little time with your family. Put together some sort of plan. Even if you don't want to pay for hours, you can put together your own plan with information that's on both FEMA and the ready.gov's website.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of information out there for you to be able to put a plan together.
Yes. Okay. Are we going to be back next week? I don't know.
I think so. Let's see.
What's next week?
The 7th?
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong book. I have so many books here. This is not funny. Okay, yeah, the 7th.
Yeah.
All right. Again, if anyone has any questions, put it in wherever you're watching this. We'll get notification if you have a question. If there's a topic you want us to discuss, please let us know. And I don't know who to contact about Nextel, but I really think that needs to be brought back.
I don't know who to contact either, but
Yeah, well, hold on a second. Before we all go here, let's just see. Nextel. Let's see what happens if I do a Google search.
it just comes up like you're old.
Yeah, Nextel, former telecommunications company. Oh, that's good. Let's do this, Kate. Before we go, National Walkie-Talkie Company Service. Let's see what comes up. Plant tours, two-way radios. That's not the same thing.
No.
Rapid radios. No monthly fee walkie-talkie. I'm going to have to look at this site.
So if you pull up Walkie-Talkie app, there is one that's called Walkie-Talkie Push to Talk.
Walkie-talkie apps.
I
Okay.
don't know how good that works, but I would definitely play around with it to find out.
Okay. I'm going to go look at some apps on the phone to see if something And we'll report back next week with anything that we find that looks interesting.
The other good one too is a ham radio.
Yeah, but you have to know how to use that. And don't you need a license for that?
Yeah, but if there's anybody out there that wants to talk about ham radios, contact us because we would love to have that as a conversation.
Okay, we will see everybody next week.